Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Joy Taylor. On today's show, who should take the blame after the Rockets blew a 26-point lead against the Celtics? Plus, Skip explains why Dak Prescott and Dez Bryant's relationship is beyond repair. And what are the chances Todd Gurley swipes the MVP award away from Tom Brady? Skip, Shannon, let's get to it. The Celtics beat the Rockets 99-98 in one of the craziest endings ever. With under 10 seconds left, Jason Tatum cut the Rockets' lead to 1 with a dunk. Then James Harden was called for an offensive foul on Marcus Smart. When the Rockets tried to inbound the ball, the Celtics got the ball back and Al Horford hit the go-ahead shot to put Boston up by 1. Then Harden was called for another offensive foul when he pushed off on Smart again. The Celtics came from 26 points down to get the win. And the game only had 2 refs because the third ref was injured before the game. Afterwards, Harden said he had a big problem with that.
First of all, I want to know, how do you only have 2 officials on a national TV game? That's the first question. But a lot of grabbing, a lot of holding. When am I supposed to, how else am I supposed to get open? The guy has 2 arms wrapped around my whole body. It's tough. You can't have 2 officials in a professional game. There's a lot of no calls that need to be called because that changes the dynamic of the game. Then you got fast break points, no calls, turnovers, or whatever the case may be. But it's a professional game, national TV. Can't happen.
Shannon, did the refs get the calls right?
I believe they did. I believe if those are fouls in the first quarter, they should be fouls in the fourth quarter. I hate that he called them because now it takes the emphasis off the Houston Rockets. They blew this game. And now it makes it James Harden is wanting to make it seem like the referees cost them the game. They were playing the entire game. They got up by 26, Skip, with 2 referees. That's all they had, 2.
Yep.
Wasn't a problem then. I didn't hear anybody, nobody mention anything about they only have 2. I didn't even know it. I didn't know it until this morning. That's, hey, I'm just, I ain't got no sound going. I'm just watching the game.
You should turn that sound up.
Nah.
It's pretty
Sometimes
clear.
they tell you stuff that's happening.
I don't need to know all that. They wasn't going to change anything. They still lost.
They did.
Well, I wish they'd had the third ref because he probably would have whispered in James Harden's ear, you guys are up 26. Jacking up quick threes is not really helping you guys, okay? But never mind that, Skip. Harden pushed. And I think what Harden did is like, okay, you called that on me? You ain't going to call it again. Oh, you ain't going to call that again now. Hold on, I know that's not going to happen. And guess what? He called it again. It's almost, Skip, I get pulled over with a speeding ticket. And then on the process, the officer gives me the ticket, I kick up dirt on his car, pulling away. What you think he gonna do? Woo! Pull me over again. And that's what happened to James Harden. Skip, the ref didn't cost the Rockets this game. Their play. And this is the concern that people have about Mike D'Antoni come playoff time. Skip, they had 5 assists in the second half. They had 1 in the fourth quarter. They were still playing. The Houston Falcons should be ashamed of themselves.
Yep.
Oh, my bad. Houston Rockets, Atlanta Falcons. Well, same thing, Joe. You get where I'm going. Skip, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. You're up 26 points, and you're jacking up threes like you're down 26. At some point in time, you got to run the offense. But I think their offense is James Harden shooting step-back threes, James Harden going to the free throw line. Those are their first 2 options. And then, okay, I'm watching the game, Skip, and not like I said, I don't have the sound. I'm watching Eric Gordon, Skip. They get a second chance. They get a rebound. He jacks up a 3 with 20 seconds left on the shot clock. I'm like, why?
That's what they do.
Exactly. And that's not an offense. At some point in time, you're like, you know what? We need to slow this tempo down. But they didn't do that. They kept jacking up shots. Give the Celtics. They kept scrapping. They kept fighting. But you missed Marcus Smart. He traveled on that one call. He got the ball and I thought he was doing the electric slide, Joe.
You could have called it.
Oh, no, they should have. They should, Cupid shuffle at that.
Yep.
They should have called it, but they didn't. Skip, and that's what I hate about this game is that these 2 calls overshadowed what Houston didn't do at the end to close this ball game because they should have won this game going away. But they didn't because they got reckless with the ball. They kept jacking up quick shots. And you know what? The Celtics said, you know what? We're getting closer. We're getting closer. And they tighten up, Skip. We've seen games like this before in other sports. They tighten up in the end, and it cost them the ball game. But I know what you're going to say.
What? Go ahead.
Oh,
Tell me.
Now, you told me Tuesday because Kevin Garnett, Kevin Durant is playing better defense than LeBron James. That's why he got the call. So I guess Marcus Smart is a better defender, playing better defense than James Harden is playing offense this year.
Marcus Smart's a hellacious defender. And by the way, when he was guarding James Harden last night, James Harden was 0 for 7 with 4 turnovers. But the first thing I want to say is that this game, James Harden, really needed only one referee, and his name is Tony Brothers. And I'm at least going to give Tony Brothers a sitting ovation right now because he did something I thought no referee would ever do. And by the way, Tony Brothers, if you followed the league, this is his 24th season. Yeah. He has refereed in 84 playoff games, so I think he knows a thing or two about a thing or two.
Yes.
And he had the guts and the conviction back-to-back to say, boom, offensive foul on James Harden, who gets more calls in this league than a 1-800 number.
Yes.
He does.
Yeah.
He gets calls. He was getting them all night. You realize he was 15 for 50. He can make his free throws. He's 87%. I give him that. But he'd already shot 15 free throws in this game. And do you realize he leads the NBA in free throw attempts by 54 free throws?
Yeah.
That's how many calls he gets. So for him to have 2 quick calls go against him in crunch time with the game on the line, and Tony Brothers, to his credit, he's right there on top of the play. And did he, you want to talk about conviction, he did not hesitate.
None.
There was no foul. Nope. It's just boom. And he threw his body into it, right?
Yep.
Because he said, you fouled him. James Harden got called twice. Maybe the second one was a little bit of frustration foul, but I agree with you. If you're going to call it once, you really got to call the other one. And it was right in Tony Brothers' face, and he said, in your face, James Harden, and just basically took the game away from the Houston Rockets. Now, big picture, what was happening in the game? And again, we're back to reputation. I'm going to remind you, and these referees, they watch, they follow.
Of course.
Their sound is up. They know what's going on when they watch their games. And in this case, let's go back to the closeout Game 6 in Houston against my San Antonio Spurs last year. What happened or didn't happen?
James
Harden disappeared, like all-time disappeared, for a guy who's always an MVP candidate. He's back and forth. He got the Players MVP a couple of years ago. And in that game, he scored a grand total of 10 points on 2 for 11 shooting. And Houston is APB on James Harden. Well, last night, to me, what you saw was one team with high basketball character. They may not have high talent, but they got high basketball character against another one with questionable basketball character. You had one team with huge heart, and the other team, to me, has small heart, sometimes no heart. You have clutch guts on one team, and you have disappearing act on the other team. And in the end, those referees know that this team is all about track you down, come from behind, and the other team's a fragile front runner. So in the end, Tony Brothers says, you didn't earn the right to get away with those 2 push-offs. And the first one was, you could have gotten away with not calling it, but he slammed down the gavel on it. And then the second was a blatant push-off.
You got to call it, because as you said, he called the first one. So
and look, I'm with you. Marcus Smart, he picked up his plant foot. It's as simple as that. He traveled. So I'll give you that. It's a hard call to make because it's over in the corner, and the referee's not right on top of it.
And I guess that's what James Harden is alluding to. If you'd had the third referee,
maybe
he would have.
Okay, all right, that's fair. And by the way, at that moment, it's shaky because if you make that call, there's 7 seconds left, and the Rockets have the ball and a 3-point lead. So I think they're probably going to get it home.
But what happened, Skip, if you remember earlier, they tried to inbound the ball, and they had to take 2 timeouts in the front court.
They did.
So now, if you didn't have to use those timeouts, you'd have had those 2 timeouts to walk the ball to the front court. But because Trevor Ariza couldn't get the ball in, or he felt uncomfortable, because we saw what Boston did to Indiana just a week ago. Quick pass to end up stealing the ball and winning at the buzzer.
They did.
I thought a lot of this goes back to Mike D'Antoni. Skip, why are you playing so small? They got Aaron Baines. You got P.J. Tucker trying to keep Aaron Baines off the glass. So they're getting extra rebounds. Why would you bring Tarek Black? Bring Nene. Nene is 6'11". Now, he's not a defensive stopper.
No.
Al Horford is not looking to put the ball on the floor and get to the rim.
He brought Tarek Black in to guard Al, I guess, and he's 6'9". I don't know. Brought him in with 16 seconds.
I would have put Nene in because
could.
you were going 2 for 1. Because you're going 2 for 1 because you substituted Ryan Anderson out to bring Tarek Black in to play defense. I would have put Nene in a little bigger body that's going to not let Al Horford walk him down and then turn over and shoot a 5-foot jump hook.
But remember, Al Horford wasn't having a very good game. 9 points. At that point, he had 7 points and 8 rebounds. And for him to have the guts to shoot a little baby hook on the baseline, it's a hard shot.
Yep, he's 5 foot from the basket. He's 6'10", shooting over a 6'9".
Okay,
guy.
but that's a hard, because there's no backboard shot.
Yeah.
Straight on, sideways. And he finally, he made it. He just sort of gutsed it in.
All Tarek Black did was just hold his hands up. You got to challenge that jump.
Okay.
But that's what I did. That's the only one of the problems that I had is that they stayed small for so long, and Boston started killing them on the glass because I know PJ Tucker's tough, but he's not keeping 7 foot big as Aaron Baines is off the glass. Nope. It's just not going to happen.
And he ended up missing the one big free throw that opened the door late.
I know somebody else missed a free throw too, but we ain't talking about that.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to talk about it because on this side of the table, I am objective. I am the biggest Kyrie Irving fan. He's the best closer in basketball, and by his standards, and I'm setting his bar up there in that LeBron territory.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, I do.
Come down.
As a closer, I'm going to put it up here. He was awful down the stretch. He was awful. He missed a free throw that could have tied.
Missed it.
That was with 3:08 left. He did make a driving shot after that, but then he had another drive. He's driving left, right-handed, and they said Ryan Anderson got a hand on him. I'm not even sure. He just missed it.
Right. What about
and
that
then
three?
he had a travel, and that was with 18.7 seconds left. And I thought that had lost the game because it was just a turnover. It wasn't a travel. He just lost the ball up the middle of the floor.
What about that 3, though, he missed?
I don't know any threes.
Oh,
late.
yeah, he missed a 3. But
Late?
don't worry about that. Late.
Well,
don't worry about it.
I just gave you the trifecta.
But you should have known. I mean, you saw game 3. He was over from the three-point line. But I don't want to talk about it. But I need to know one thing. Can they ask me?
Wait, did you just bring up game 3?
Whoa,
You mean
Skip.
of the finals?
Skip, I'm trying
Whoa. Hold on. You just opened the door. I'm going to step through it quickly because that was the game in which the king in his palace has the ball in his hands with a minute and 30 seconds left and a 4-point lead and spit it up? Are you kidding me? That's the all-time low point of the king's career to me. You got to close that.
If you don't mind me asking, who should get credit for saving Kyrie last night? Should it be Marcus Smart or Al Horford?
I think it should be the whole team. Everybody chipped in.
No.
And by the way, Kyrie scored 26 last night and led the team. You know, that's pretty good.
How many scored in the fourth quarter?
He is 1 for 3, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you remember now in Game 6, you tell everybody how LeBron turned the ball over.
Okay,
how he missed the three-pointer.
Okay, wait a second.
And Ray
Joey,
Allen.
did I not just declare that he had a poor night by his standards? No. I agree with you. But he is playing defense in ways I never saw him play defense in Cleveland. He is actually igniting the defensive charge of this team. He's setting the tone. This team is second in defense. It finished last year 12th in defense. What's happened? Kyrie's happened. Marcus Smart continues to happen. Terry Rozier, he plays all 12 minutes of the fourth quarter last night.
Yeah, he had some big buckets in the fourth.
This team has heart and guts and, as they all kept saying afterwards, extreme resilience.
Yes.
There are a lot of cliches going on in there, a lot of intangibles. They're not the most talented team. Last night they were down Jaylen Brown. They're obviously down the whole year an all-star in Gordon Hayward, who was lost, obviously, in Game 1 at Cleveland. They're going to play next Wednesday night back in Boston. And Boston last night, just remember, they had played back-to-back at Charlotte. And they came home.
But you say Charlotte is nothing, though.
Okay, but I'm just saying you have to fly and play. You know, it's hard to play back-to-back. Ask LeBron James.
Oh, whoa.
Ask him. So they come home.
Charlotte's nobody.
Do you know how much energy it takes to come from 26 down against a team that is
I do know. Me and Bron know because we just did it last year against Indiana with Kyrie on the bench. We know how hard it is to come back from 26. The biggest come from behind in playoff NBA history.
I don't think Kyrie was on the bench.
Oh, you know, Skip, don't do that.
He was not on.
Yeah, don't do that, Skip.
So guess what? The Boston Celtics, they're almost halfway through their schedule.
Yeah.
They're 29-10, which has to be the surprise of the NBA season.
Yes.
and they're 3 games up on the Cavs and the Raptors. That's pretty great, don't you think? Maybe that's the Kyrie impact.
This is what we know. Well, they had even when Kyrie was on the Cavs last year, the Boston Celtics finished with the #1 seed in the East. But this is what we know. They have no answer for 6'9", 255-pound, the dude that's about to have a birthday tomorrow. Happy early birthday, Bron.
Yeah, happy birthday.
You know what I'm saying? So, Skip, you know and I know, 29, 16, and 9.
Yeah.
Now, last year in the 4 wins, he averaged 29, 7, and 6. That's what he averaged against the Boston Celtics in 5 games. In the 4 wins, he averaged 34 points a game. You know, he had that bad game. He was a little under the weather.
Yeah.
He had those 11 points. And you came in here and you beat him up pretty good.
He deserved it.
And I told you he wasn't going to have another one like that.
So I'm not going to beat up the Celtics team who held Houston in the second half last night to 36 total points. That's the Houston team that leads the league in offensive efficiency and is just barely second in points per game at 114.6 to Golden State's 114.9. That's the firepower they have. That's the team that you said you like better than the Thunder. I don't like them better than the Thunder. I don't like them at all. I've told you that from the start. Did they not have CP3 last night? They did not.
Or Clint Capella.
Okay. So has that team with Capella and CP3 on his Clippers and going back to his New Orleans days, have they all had big flameouts in the postseason?
Sure.
They have.
But,
so has Mike D'Antoni had flameouts in the? Yes, he has.
But Skip, if you look at it though, a game that CP3 has started and finished, they're unbeaten.
Okay. You think that's going to keep?
No.
You think it's going to keep happening? I don't.
But the Rockets are going to have to find a way. Skip, you can't play up and down for the entire game because in the playoffs, the game gets condensed. You're going to have to find somebody that can. The thing what makes Golden State so tough is that even though they like to get up and down, when they need a basket, they say, Kevin Durant, go down on the block. He's 7 foot tall. LeBron, go down on the block. You have guys that can go down on the block. Kevin Love, go down on the block.
Yep.
Houston doesn't have this. So it's James Harden shooting the 3 step back. Skip, they were up 2 points. James Harden shot a 34-footer with 36 seconds on the clock. You tell me that makes sense. And I get it. That's at that point in time, you're up 2. Run some time off the clock. I get it.
Did you see what he did with 2 minutes left? Dribble, 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 back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, step back 3, and it looked like dagger. Yeah. But that other team will not quit. That other team has some guts that I don't see a lot of NBA teams have.
Yeah, I mean, especially to come back from 26 in December. Why? Why exert yourself? Because that's who they are. We know the Boston Celtics, the thing that I love about them, they play hard. They got a lot of athletic guys. Tatum, Smart, and you got Rozier, you got Jaylen Brown. They're all about the same height. They're athletic. They can rotate multiple times. They can knock down big threes. And then you got Kyrie. Al Horford is going to have his games where he chips in with 20 and 10, might have 7 or 8 assists. But this team is to be reckoned with. We knew that. I always thought they were the second best team in the East. And we're going to talk about this a little later. But, don't matter where we finish. We can be 1 seed. We can be 5. We can be 8. But you got to come see the king. You got to see him twice. You got to beat him twice. You got to slay the dragon 4 times. Can you do it?
Do you realize how big a break LeBron James got on opening night in his house when Gordon Hayward went down? They're down an all-star, probably for the whole year. Do you realize what that did for you? It became cakewalk again. I got some hope for this team. It's not that talented.
Gordon Hayward, Gordon Ramsay, we don't care.
Yeah, you should.
We don't care because you got to come to our Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
You got to come to the Q.
I don't know if that's
now, you know what? We want to go there. We go to, what is it, TD, what's the name of their building? TD something bank? Whatever it is.
It's the Garden.
There ain't no Garden.
Yeah.
No, they tore down the Boston Garden. That place got air conditioning.
Yep.
They don't get to ride the subway and pull right up there to the Garden. That ain't the Garden, so stop saying that. There's no mystique in that building.
Next Wednesday night, there's going to be a lot of mystique.
Put something on it.
Yeah.
Put something on it. Ain't no might.
Yeah.
Put something on it.
I just might. I need to see if Jaylen Brown gets healthy.
I don't care if Jaylen Brown, Leroy Brown,
Yeah.
I don't care who playing.
Yeah.
Charlie Brown, throw him in there too.
Yeah.
You don't want to see the king. You know, Skip, why you do that? Why you hyping these people up actually think the Celtics going to beat the Cavs?
I've been watching the King lately, and I don't know.
What don't you know?
Yeah, I was watching that Sacramento game.
Yeah.
They just looked tired.
Yeah, he looked tired. But now he in Sonoma, sipping on a little wine. I heard they got some good old vineyards up there. I might take a trip up there myself.
He's in Napa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might go on up there and take a little wine test. And I heard it's great up there. You get up there. Yeah.
Well, the next test, speaking of tests, is that ex-little Celtic star, the little 5'10" guy who plays little to no defense and loves to hog that basketball. He's going to try to fit in with your man.
I love how now he hogs the basketball. All last year he talked about he's the most clutch guy in the fourth quarter. He was loving him. Now he's a ball hog. I know what you're trying to do, Skip.
Love him.
You trying to upset our apple cart. You trying to cause dissension.
It's about to get
No, it ain't
upset.
about to do nothing.
Yes,
it ain't about to do nothing.
Isaiah Thomas, quote unquote, I will average 30 a game for the Cavaliers.
He will average 30 minutes a game for the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's what he meant.
Really?
Minutes, not points.
They play in the TD Garden.
TD Garden, yeah.
TD Garden.
So it is technically called the Garden.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It can be Secret Garden, Barry White Secret Garden. It doesn't matter.
No mercy.
The Cowboys are 8-7 and will not be going to the playoffs. Earlier this week, Des Bryant said, the season has been frustrating and added, quote, certain situations I couldn't control. This led a lot of people to question his chemistry with Dak Prescott. Yesterday, Dak talked about that issue. Let's take a listen.
Me and Dez are great, and frustration on the field, off the field, it's not going to matter. We're true friends, and whether we do hit a bad spot or not, we're good enough friends, we'll be able to get around it. So, he's got all my respect on and off the field. He's a great person, so we're good.
Shannon, do you believe Dak?
Nope. He's saying all the right things, but he can't possibly believe that, Skip. If I have to tell you how my relationship is with another person, Skip, what is that?
It's damage control.
Exactly. Because what did he say after the game? I guess I need to put the ball in his face mask so he can't drop it. I guess. Last year, I'll throw it to him when he's open.
Yep.
Now, what did Dez do, Skip? You remember Tony Romo was out. What did Dez do? Tony Romo throwing the missiles in practice. Hold on, wait a minute.
Yep.
I'm the starter. I'm throwing you the ball, and you talking about a guy that's throwing in practice, and he's throwing missiles. He's looking good. I heard that. Now, Dez is also complaining about the scheme. This is the exact scheme in 2014 when Dez had 1,307 yards and 16 touchdowns. I never heard Dez Bryant say anything about scheme. Only now, as his numbers have started to plummet, it's the scheme. I'm watching film and I'm running routes better than some. Who? What person are you running better routes than that make that kind of money? I'm not talking about guys that are 7th round picks or 6th round picks making $1 million or $2 million. Who do you run routes better than? Because remember, Skip, in 2014, there was a serious discussion. Who's better, Dez Bryant or Julio Jones? Now somebody hit you in your face 15 times, you ask them who's better. Because you already know. Skip, this is a problem because Dak is like, hold on, I'm looking at my numbers. Shannon Sharp over here gave me a failing grade. I got 13 picks, yeah. But 5 of them jokers came when I was trying to throw the ball to you because you not open. The ball bouncing off your hands.
Thank you. Keep going.
You're like, hold on, wait a minute. You keep on talking about your number. You ain't going to take no pay cut.
Yep.
I get it. And I've been very fortunate that I had a great relationship with John, and I've had great relationships with all the quarterbacks.
John Elway.
John Elway, yes. But Skip, when I have to tell you my relationship with anyone, there's a problem. Because obviously people see things, and it's like, that's not common. John would have never said, even if I dropped 4 passes in the game, which I never did. But anyway, even if I had, John ain't said, I guess I got to put the ball between the 8 and the 4 to make sure he can't drop it.
Yep.
I throw it to Shannon when he gets open. Well, I catch it when he throw it to me. That's what Dad should have said. Well, I catch it when he throw it to me. And then Dak would say, that's a lie. I threw it to you Sunday, and you dropped it and cost me an interception. I threw it to you, you fumbled it, and I threw it to you again, and you dropped 2 more passes.
Yep.
So that's a lie. If I throw it to you, you're going to catch it. It's a problem, Skip.
Yep.
This is a problem. And I told you it was going to be a problem because he started chirping last year at the rookie quarterback.
He did. The quote you speak of, the face mask quote after the game the other day, the loss the other day, the one that I will never recover from, the face mask quote was a bridge burner between Des Bryant and this quarterback. It was teetering last year after the opening quote after the first game, "I'll throw it to him when he's open." And I'm going to remind everyone, shortly after that, Dez, unfortunately for him, got hurt. And I'm going to remind everyone that they went for 3 games and they took off without Dez Bryant. They went to San Francisco, which wasn't a huge thing, but they fell behind 14-0, and they stormed back, throwing to Bryce Butler in place of Dez Bryant. Then they came home to face Cincinnati, which at that point had a top 5 defense. Some people thought they might be the best defense, and that Dallas was going to have a hard time establishing any kind of run game against Cincinnati. No Dez Bryant. Didn't matter. They punished Cincinnati running and throwing.
That is correct.
And then they went up to Brett Favre's house on the not yet frozen tundra.
But it was dreary. It was raining.
It was raining. It was a dreary day. And they beat the stuffing out of Aaron Rodgers and company with no Dez Bryant. Well, just put that in your bank. You could see what was happening. They had a more wide open, varied offense.
Right.
It had more breadth to it. It was harder to defend because it wasn't 88 over there with obvious single coverage. And one thing about Dak Prescott, he is a student of the game, and he goes maybe to a fault by the book.
Correct.
He goes through his progressions. And when his progressions scream, 88 is single covered out here. Cole Beasley's doubled here. Maybe even Jason Witten is doubled in the middle.
Right.
The book tells me I got to throw it to 88. And the stats tell you that 88 leads the NFL in drop passes.
Right.
That won't work because you kept going to a dry well, to
Correct.
use a Jerry Jones term, right?
Correct.
And if you keep going and you throw him the 11th most targets in the league, that's high. 11th most, there are 32 teams in the league. And he comes up with only the 23rd most catches in the league.
Yes.
You're going to lose a bunch of football games.
Yep.
And to your point, if he lets you throw into pick sixes because the ball goes through his hand, at some point, it's just not working. I don't know why. Romo had a rapport, had a wavelength, had a soul connection with Dez.
You know why, Skip? Because if Romo threw it, that's Tony Romo. That's what Tony accident waiting to happen.
Yep.
Tony, So we expect if Tony Romo has always had riverboat gambling in him. He was always Brett Favre because he would put the ball in harm's way. Sometimes good things happen.
He grew up loving Brett Favre in Wisconsin.
Right.
Yep.
Sometimes good things happen. Sometimes they didn't. But Dak was taught early on, Dak, we're going to run this ball, and hey, if he's open, throw him the ball. If he's not, hey, we check it down. We live to see another day. But Dak Dez probably went upstairs, Jerry. So now they're forcing him to throw the ball. I know what his read says. Dak says, yes, my read says I should go to Dez Bryant because he's single coverage. But when I watch the tape, he ain't nowhere near open. So I'm putting the ball in harm because those interceptions, they don't say they carry them off Dez Bryant's hand. See, when you like 13 interceptions, they don't say, well, 5 of them carry them off Dez Bryant's hand or, something. No. That says 13 interceptions, Dak Prescott. So I'm asking Dez, who are these receivers, the elite receivers that you say you run routes better than?
Yep.
And Skip,
I don't know who he's talking about. Terrence Williams?
I'm surprised that the story about when Dak hadn't gotten more legs, when Dak said, I got to throw the ball and put it in his face mask so he can't drop it.
Yep.
I guess.
I guess.
Skip.
That was the most truthful thing Dak's ever said publicly because he always says the right thing, politically correct thing.
Well, he did.
He just spilled his guts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I told you, people, when you're angry, you're drunk, or you're a child, you tell the truth.
No,
he was upset because this was right there for him. He said leading up to the week, everything for us is in front of us. We control our own destiny. And he just saw he throw it to a guy, he drop a couple of them, caroms off his hand, a pick, he throw it to a guy, punches it out. Dak's like, what am I supposed to do? You telling me I should give him the more opportunities, but look at what he's doing with the opportunities that I do give him.
Yep.
So what am I supposed to do with that? How is that my fault?
And what did I just tell you in the previous discussion we had about Todd Gurley and Tom Brady? To me, the quarterback position is 10 times the most valuable. So in this case, again, I'm going to side with Dak Prescott. Unfortunately, the owner is probably going to side with the wide receiver. And I'm not saying wide receivers are a dime a dozen, but you can replace the wide receiver before you can replace the quarterback.
Absolutely.
Everybody's still looking for about half this league is looking for a quarterback.
Putting up Dez Bryant numbers now, replacing an Antonio Brown
Sure.
or Julio
I
Jones,
got it.
those
No,
top guys.
I'm with
But a
you.
guy that's putting up Dez numbers, there are 15 guys to do that.
Sure.
And they won't cost, and all of them together might cost you $16 million cap.
Yep. So my Dallas Cowboys are stuck with a Dez dilemma.
They're not stuck with it.
Well,
know.
they are. I think they are. And if I'm right about this, if the owner's going to hang in with him and say, we'll figure it out next year, I will not love my team's chances nearly as much next year if they're stuck with this going forward, because this is a troubled relationship between the quarterback and the receiver, and we saw it all year long.
But how is Dez going to get better, Skip? How is he going to get better?
You know what? That's exactly the problem here. We talked about it yesterday. Would he suddenly submit to, I'm going to become Larry Fitzgerald. I'm going to figure out how to play in the slot and become a possession inside receiver. And I'm going to learn. I'm going to study the whole offseason. I'm going to figure out how to find those soft spots in the zone. He's not going to do that. Has he ever demonstrated that to you before?
They don't play slot receivers $14 million.
No.
So he's looking at it like this is as a demotion. He's not looking at it, well, I can probably help my team more in here than out there. But Skip, you gotta have a very, and I'm not saying Dez is illiterate or dumb or anything like that, but to play the slot, things happen a lot quicker.
We're just talking about football IQ.
Yes,
here.
yes. Because you got to realize, Skip, you're not getting a whole lot of, you're running outs, you're running go balls, you're running, skinny posts or whatever. But you got shallow cross. Do I A window, the B window? Do I keep going?
Yep.
Okay, where's my zone? All that. Am I hot? So you need to know all of that. The question is Dez willing to revamp his game? That's the Skip. As my career started winding down, I changed the way I trained. I started went to a speed coach. And if you look at my numbers as far as big plays, I had more big plays after 30 than I did before.
I got it. So Larry Fitzgerald will tell you today that Bruce Arians added 3 years on his career, very productive years, by forcing him against his will to learn how to play in the slot. Will Dez Bryant do that? I think not.
It was hard. And Larry called me when Bruce Arians asked him to do that. He says, that's what he called me. Called me Unc. He called me Unc a long time. He said, Unc, what you think? And I told him I was honest with him. He said, I appreciate it.
And you told him,
I told him, do it. I said, Larry, this doesn't diminish you. I said, actually, it's going to help. Told him the same thing. It's going to add years to your life. Wow. You still can make your plays. Larry, nobody's going to think all of a sudden Larry Fitzgerald can't play, but you're more valuable because if they put you in the slot, you can do what the other guys can't. Those are speed guys, the John Browns and your smaller guys, they can't play the slot. They're not as knowledgeable as you are. So now you get more great players on the field.
Right.
So don't look at it as subtracting. Look at it as adding. Look at Larry Fitzgerald going to the Pro Bowl again.
88 needs to be subtracted from the Dallas Cowboys.
There you go. Skip, that's your team.
That's why he needs to be subtracted.
No mercy.
Todd Gurley is making a late push to win his first MVP award. Gurley has been on fire in December with 8 touchdowns in the last 3 games, and he leads the league in rushing. Right now, Gurley has the second best MVP odds behind Tom Brady, according to Bovada. But Brady has been struggling this month with 5 interceptions. Skip, should Brady be the clear favorite for MVP?
Look, maybe I should disqualify myself from this discussion because I'm a Tom Brady fan, and I think he backs up people being a fan of his, except for the person across the table from me and actually many, many others. But the point is that, to me, Todd Gurley is the all-time Johnny-come-lately to a playoff race that is being dominated
What you mean
by
playoff
Tom
race?
Brady.
You mean
I'm
MVP?
sorry, MVP race.
Okay.
That's being dominated by that quarterback up in Foxborough. And there is so much resentment of that quarterback. Maybe there's so much burnout factor because people are just sick and tired of Tom Brady winning and winning and winning that it was like with 2 weeks left in the season, or actually 3, oh, wait a second, there's Todd Gurley. Wait, we could jump on that bandwagon.
No, Todd Gurley was always there, but the guys that were ranked in front of him started getting hurt. Antonio Brown, Carson Wentz. Tell the truth, Skip Bayless.
Okay, I will tell the truth. So I'm going to look back at some games of rushing by Todd Gurley, a running back for the Los Angeles Rams.
Okay.
Started out against Indianapolis in the first game, and he went 19 times for 40 yards, rushed 19 times for 40 yards. So I know he catches a good number of balls, but then against Seattle in probably their biggest home game of the year, he rushed 14 times for 43 yards. And then at Minnesota, you could argue their second or third biggest game of the year, he went 15 times for 37 yards. Against New Orleans, pretty good defense, 17 for 74. That's not exactly dominating. At Arizona against a division rival, 19 for 74. Not exactly Terrell Davis kind of
That's
production.
4 yards a carry, but we'll take it.
Okay. And then against the Eagles, he was pretty good. He had 13 for 96, caught 3 for 39, but they lost the game. So these are big, huge home games in which the MVP should take the game over, but he plays a position that can't dominate a game the way the quarterback position can. So to me, the quarterback is always 10 times more valuable than the running back or the receiver or even the pass rusher. In the end, it's just a quarterback's game. So I can't get it through my head, even though he has caught 788 yards worth of balls. That's good, but he's rushed for 1305. So you watched a guy in 1998 win MVP.
Yeah.
Rushing for 2,008 yards.
Yes.
Well, that controls the clock, plays keep away. Yeah. It just bludgeons a defense. Yeah. It has more impact running the football than catching swing passes or little pop passes over the middle. And that was Terrell Davis, 2,008 yards, and he scored 21 rushing TDs. So now Todd Gurley has 19 total TDs, but 13 rushing and 6 catching.
Right.
Well, then we saw Adrian Peterson threaten our man Eric Dickerson's all-time rushing record for a single season. In 2012, he went for 2,097 yards, did Adrian Peterson. Well, it's hard to argue against it, even though I thought Peyton should have won that year.
How many total touchdowns did AP have in that season?
13.
Oh, how many Todd Gurley got?
Okay. I want to tell you, this is just me. As far as running back touchdowns go, I think they're extremely overrated because if you score from the 1 or 2 yard line, I don't really care. Emmitt Smith used to lead the league year after year, and I was there, and I was like,
So what about Tom Brady throwing from the 1?
Well, whatever. It doesn't bother me. You can have that.
Oh, it doesn't bother you.
But what all I know about Tom Brady is he has taken a decimated, mediocre football team to the #1 seed in the AFC. And all I know is that in December, he went to Pittsburgh. Was it not the game of the year, right?
Yeah.
Game of the year.
won.
He threw for almost 300 yards. He threw for 75 yards in the fourth quarter alone. You want to talk about clutch?
What about-
And they won the fourth quarter 11-0 at Pittsburgh.
Okay.
That's at Pittsburgh.
Joey, can you tell Skip, you got those numbers right down there, what did he do when he went to Miami?
Okay, what is it, man? Okay, this is the game. Who's the #1 seed? That's all I need. Body of work. Who's the #1 seed in the AFC? Help me out.
New England. Well, it's kind of hard to be. Skip.
Who's number?
Skip.
Who's
Hold on. Skip. It's
#1
hard to
seed?
be-
I'm choking over here.
How the Rams going to be the #1 seed in the NFC when you got a team that's 13-2? Because if
Why
New England
not?
was in the AFC,
Dominate.
Skip.
Dominate.
If the New England was
Dominate
in the,
on 3. 1, 2, 3.
if New England was in the NFC with that record, they wouldn't be the #1 seed. Oh, see, I love how you do that. Because look, I believe Todd Gurley. Will you tell him can you tell him what Todd Gurley did when he went to Jacksonville? Jacksonville got the #1 defense in the NFL. Look on that paper. I don't see it over
I know,
there.
but I just gave you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in which he was just kind of average or sometimes below average. It's not great. It's not transcendent. It's not Terrell Davis in 1998 or Adrian Peterson in 2012.
Okay, if you don't mind me asking.
And you're trying to make a case over what Tom
First game of the
Brady
season,
did?
first opening day. You win the Super Bowl, they're going to drop the banner. They dropped 2 banners. They dropped one with the Lombardi Trophy and another with 28-3. Can you tell people what Tom Brady did against Kansas City?
You know what? My restaurant over here, it only serves #1 seeds. That's all we got is #1 seeds.
Hold on.
So Tom Brady visits my restaurant every night because he's the #1 seed.
Can you tell the people at home in Kansas City, it opened Thursday night, everybody's watching. They unveiled the banner, they filled the Lombardi
Okay,
in
you got it.
in the 28-3. Can you
got
tell
it.
the people at home?
Yeah.
The third
he had a
game.
miserable game. Wait a second.
No,
then
you
what
had to-
happened?
you had to-
With the season teetering, what happened the next week? Help me out. You tell the people. Tell the people what happened the second week of this season.
So the season,
Tell 'em.
hold on. The season is teetering. 2 weeks into the season.
Well, yeah, it is after that. That was a devastation, man. They got blown off the field. Would they lose the fourth quarter like 21-0?
Yeah, Skip, you're right. They went to New Orleans. They headed to New York.
Because it's a scary play. Do you remember what happened the last time Tom Brady went down to New Orleans in 2009?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, good. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
And then Cam Newton brings his Panthers.
See, we're going to sweep that under
Hold on, Skip. I gave you that.
Yeah.
He outdueled Drew Brees, had 302 yards in the first half, threw for 400 in the entire game. But Carolina Panthers, Cam Newton came to Tom Brady's house.
Yeah.
Can you tell the people what happened?
Yeah, Tom Brady had a masterful game, had an 88 QBR. It's hard to have an 88. Masterful.
I started serving wine, Joy. I heard
300 yards. Guess what? That was in the stretch in which the New England defense was historically bad.
Skip, hold on.
It was by
Skip,
far the
you
worst
gonna make my point?
What was the final score? 36-33. So Tom Brady, wait a second.
Who had the 36?
Tom Brady hung 33 points on that vaunted Carolina defense.
I just need to know.
Wow, interesting.
I just need to know who had the 36.
Yeah.
Because I'm not clear on that. Who had the 36?
Who had the better QBR?
You know that my pop-up shot, Joy, I heard someone told me, came out here earlier today, and he said, people like wine.
You just stepped
So
in
now what I have to do now is that since my pop-up shops, I serve wine
Brady,
with my hot dubs.
Tom Brady outplayed Cam
with a little cheese.
I
got a cheese dub now. You want one?
In that one. Keep stepping.
If you don't mind me asking, in Miami, can you tell the people at home Tom Brady's stat?
Well, they had a bad game. He's
7-9. Joy, you see what he did?
Wait. Did you see what I did? I called it ahead of it. I've been saying all year, that's the game they're going to lose.
Because you
Wait a second. Tom Brady is 7-9 in his career at Miami. It's hard. It's hot. It's late in the year, and Miami can rush the passer. New England cannot protect its passer. You've been saying it all year. He's taken too many hits. It's going to take a couple of more years off his career. So they can't protect. He's got nobody.
I called it early in the year. I said the Rams were going to lose at home to Seattle. So I go here. I told her that, Joy. So if he had a bad game, see what I did? I did a preemptive strike. That's what Skip does. He said they were going to have trouble.
No, it's just an educated prediction.
Oh, yeah, that's what I did. I predicted that Seattle would hand it to the Rams in the Coliseum.
You know what? I don't think you predicted that. Because I think we sat here with Eric Dickerson. I think both of you picked the Rams.
Okay, how about this?
I'm pretty sure that was true.
I'm going to give it to you like this.
I picked Seattle.
I'm going to give it to you like this. Carson Wentz in 3 quarters against the Rams has as many touchdowns in the month of December as Tom Brady has. In 3 quarters, Tom Brady has the same amount of touchdowns in the whole month of December.
Hey,
we're not talking about.
We're talking about Todd Gurley here. So why didn't Todd Gurley cancel it out?
Whoa, Skip.
It's his home game.
Hold on.
Where was he in that game?
Skip.
He
Can you tell the people at home what the Todd Gurley did to your Dallas Cowboys on the road?
Yeah, I can tell them exactly what happened. There was no Sean Lee in the second half. We led the first half 24-16, and in the second half, Todd Gurley ran wild because everybody ran wild on my defense with no Sean Lee. If Sean Lee had been there, there is no way he has that kind of yardage.
So you telling me they have to play a second half?
Yeah, with Sean Lee, they need.
But you haven't told the people at home what he did to Jacksonville, who possessed the #1 defense in football. What did Todd Gurley do?
He had a good game. He had a good game, and he had a good game in his last 2 games. So I'll give you 3 games. Is that an MVP season?
How about this here? Todd Gurley is 38% of their offense. That's the highest total since Adrian Peterson in 2012. What did Adrian Peterson do in 2012, Joey?
He won the MVP.
Wait a second. Their record is 11-4, and Tom Brady's record is 12-3.
So one game. So one game, Skip.
How could that be?
Hold on. Look at the NFC. How many teams have 12-3 records or better in the NFC?
I don't even know what your point is.
You know what my point is?
I don't.
Tom Brady is 12-3. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 12-3. They got a 13-2 in the NFC. They got a 12-3. They got a bunch. Oh, as a matter of fact.
Okay,
NFC,
well, let's just keep it.
Hold on, 11-4.
Tom Brady can only beat who he gets to beat on his schedule. So who has the toughest strength of schedule of anybody in the AFC playoffs right now? Who has it? Counselor. I'm asking you a question. Who has the toughest strength of schedule of any AFC playoff?
Why does that matter if you got Tom Brady?
Well, it doesn't. That's what happened. One team has Tom Brady, and it has the toughest strength of schedule of any playoff team.
Have we seen?
Wow, that's interesting.
So I'm just trying to figure out
how did he pull this off?
What do you mean
this is his greatest accomplishment.
How?
Because he lost Julian Edelman and then Chris
But you
Hogan.
said he's nothing. You said Hogan's nothing. He can lose 40
No, you
lose
said
guy.
that. I
No,
didn't
you
say
said it.
that.
You said it. Or they're not Julio Jones. They're not Antonio Brown.
That's what you kept telling me. Julian Edelman's like, are we really putting him in the same sentence with Julio?
No, first of all, they
interesting.
play different positions, and for what they need. See, that's how you look at it. You say, well, if the guy's not Julio or AB, he's not a legit receiver. If he's not Le'Veon Bell or Todd Gurley, he's not a legit running back. But for what the Pittsburgh Steelers, when have they ever had a top, other than Randy Moss, when have they ever had a top outside receiver?
Well, at least last year they had Martellus. They lost him again this year, right?
Skip.
They had Malcolm Mitchell last year. They lost
Skip.
him this year. What did they? I don't even know. It's just
But
like Gronk or bust.
I'm asking you, since Tom Brady has been there, when have they, with the exception of Randy Moss for those 3 years, have they ever had a top 5 guy play outside of the numbers?
Thank you. That's why he is easily the greatest quarterback ever. He takes guys off the street and they used that kid Hollister the other day. They featured some guy named Hollister,
you can't,
an undrafted rookie from Wyoming in the first quarter the other day. They featured him.
You can't say Michael Jordan is the GOAT because he's 6 for 6, and then say Tom Brady is the GOAT when he's 4-2 and Joe Montana's undefeated. You can't say that, Skip.
5.
Okay, he's 5-1. I give him that he's 5-1, but he's lost. So how does he get to be the GOAT? Because if you can be the GOAT by losing championship games, well, I got some serious questions for you. I need to ask.
Well, I mean, Michael Jordan is the greatest performer in any sport ever. He just is.
Whoa. No, that's not what you said. You said Tom Brady surpassed Michael Jordan.
I said in clutch performances on the biggest stage, he has. Because it's hard for Michael Jordan to compete with that.
Well, how do you? You lost 2 games.
He's
you
been
lost 2
dominating
games.
the
Michael Jordan never lost in the
last
finals.
2 fourth quarters.
No, but no. The game is not just fourth quarters. So I'm just trying to figure out how Tom Brady gets to be the GOAT when he's lost 2 championships.
You already told me he's the GOAT.
No. I'm telling you. Well,
you told me last year.
Okay, I'm telling you Todd Gurley's the MVP.
Wait a second.
I'm telling you Todd Gurley's the MVP.
Which side are you arguing now? You told me before last year's Super Bowl, Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback ever.
I'm just using your argument.
Now what?
I'm just using your argument. You used the argument says if you go undefeated in championship games, that makes you the GOAT. Well, Tom Brady's 4-2. Why is he the GOAT? You make it seem like Tom Brady is 15-0. Tom Brady's team has lost. Tom Brady has played bad. Look at here. He only had 70 yards here. He only had 80 yards there. Okay. You make it seem like Tom Brady's thrown for every game 300 yards.
What are you talking about? Against the Giants, he lost twice. In the first one, he threw what looked like was the winning touchdown pass
did he throw
with
for
2 minutes
left. Did he throw for 300 yards?
No, that was a really great defense.
Oh, well, wait a minute. You mean to tell me the GOAT can't beat a really good defense? They got 1 Hall of Famer. They had two on New England. Randy Moss and Tom Brady going to the Hall of Fame.
Obviously took the luckiest play in Super Bowl history to beat Tom Brady in that game. And Eli admits it. It was just, he just closed his eyes and threw it as far as he could.
Victory
and it stuck in Tyree's face
the
mask.
man that has everything in order. Look, some call it. No, you see what you did there, Skip?
You know, in all of his Super Bowl performances, Tom Brady missed 1 throw, and it still should have been caught by Wes Welker. And if it had been caught, we'd be having another different conversation.
Well, you know what? If Seattle would have run the ball,
he only won 5.
No. What will his record say? What would the resume read? He's 4-2 currently. Skip, you're trying to minimize, and I get because you have to look at it. When Terrell Davis ran for those 2,000 yards, there was a different league then. They didn't throw the ball.
He's won 5.
I'm talking about Todd Gurley.
Oh,
Todd Gurley.
Tom Brady's won 5 Super Bowls.
Okay,
he's won 5. I say he's won 6.
No, stop doing that.
But I'm saying
he
has actually won 5.
No, yes, he's 5-2, Skip.
Well, that's
not 7-0.
That's really good.
Oh, okay, well, hold on. Perfection. We strive for perfection. Is $2.99 really good in bowling, or is 300 perfection? Is 20? What's a perfect game? What's a perfect game, Skip? What's a perfect baseball? If he pitches a perfect game, what is that?
I don't care.
You do care.
I don't care. I care that Tom Brady is the MVP, and you know it in your heart, and
but you haven't
just
told me
trying
why.
to defy it.
Now you're going by wins.
I just told you
now
why.
You're going by wins. Oh.
He took a decimated, mediocre football team with a defense that right now has given up the 29th most yards in the league.
If you don't mind
Let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
The 29th most yards in the league, and he overcame all that to the number one.
Total D.
Number 1 seed.
Fifth.
He beat Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh again to get to 11-2 lifetime.
If you don't mind me asking, Skip, who did they lose off their Super Bowl winning roster? that said they were going to be worse than what they were last year?
I don't know. I don't even know what you're talking
Todd
about.
Gurley, hold on. Todd Gurley, that team last year, what was their record last year, Skip?
They had a
But
terrible
different
coach. You know it. He sabotaged the whole year.
Don't do that, Skip.
Well, you're the guy. You tell me that. And I agree with you.
I didn't say he sabotaged.
Although I think if you ask that coach, he would say that he's responsible for this team.
Yeah,
Skip.
exactly.
It's okay.
The cupboard was loaded. It wasn't bare. It was loaded
If you
with talent.
don't mind me asking, since you say the quarterback is always the most important, who's more valuable, Leonard Fournette or Blake Bortles?
Well, just every once in a while, there's a 2000 Ravens where the middle linebacker is more valuable than the quarterback.
I got no problem with that.
Yeah. It happens. It's the aberration.
It happens, Joy. Sometimes the aberration is Todd Gurley is your MVP.
It's the exception to the rule.
Thank you, Skip.
But
Appreciate it.
The Jacksonville Jaguars will go as far this year as Blake Bortles takes them. You know it, and I know
No further questions, Your Honor.
No mercy.
There will be a lot of scoreboard watching on Sunday. The Falcons host the Panthers and the Seahawks host the Cardinals, with both games at 4:25 Eastern on Fox. Atlanta is in the driver's seat for the last NFC wildcard spot, while Seattle needs help to make the playoffs. Shannon, which team would be a bigger threat in the playoffs, the Falcons or the Seahawks?
I thought long and hard about this. I'm going to say the Falcons because they do have an MVP. They can throw the football, but those two running backs are dynamic.
They are.
Freeman and Coleman are unbelievable. Skip, in the last two games, the Seattle offense has 285 total yards. In 2 games, 2.
Mm-hmm.
They can't run the football. Russell Wilson is everything. Had Russell Wilson had Seattle not been as bad, their record, Russell Wilson really should have won the MVP. Skip, he has nothing. When you say he has nothing, he has nothing. His offensive line we know his offensive line is worse than Brady's. I know what they represent defensively. They bowled their back on Sunday, Skip, because ED put their business out there in the street. I blame ED for the Cowboys record. He and Sean Lee are directly responsible for what happened to the Cowboys.
Yeah, mostly Eric, though.
But Matt Ryan has struggled this year, Skip. He has 19 touchdowns. Last year, he was 38-7 in his MVP season.
That's a significant drop.
Yeah. So, but even with that being said, if Russell Wilson doesn't play dynamic, they have no chance of winning. At least Matt Ryan can fiddle around and hand the ball off to Freeman and Coleman. They can go get you 200 yards rushing. Falcons. I just don't have. I have no trust in Seattle's offense.
I didn't need to think long and hard about this. Right away, I'm thinking Seattle because I like Seattle's its football character. I don't trust Atlanta. After that debacle it suffered in the Super Bowl, I don't think it ever quite got off the psychological mat.
Yeah.
They changed coordinators. Matt Ryan has not been the same.
No.
And there's just something about Seattle. I blamed everybody in the Cowboy locker room and everybody in the front office for what happened last Sunday at Jerry World. Mm-hmm. And to a fault, I did not give enough credit to Seattle for what they did. That was an impressive win, especially coming off 42-7 that you just got wiped out at home by your division rival. And what dawned on me at the end of the Cowboy game is Seattle can still rush the passer. I know they don't have Richard Sherman, they don't have Cam Chancellor, but they still got Bobby Wagner. You love Bobby Wagner.
I do.
I love KJ Wright. I learned once again to love Earl Thomas because he can flat out fly.
He covers some ground.
Cover ground. So they still have a core of defenders, and they have a core of football toughness that I would take to the bank, especially in the postseason, because Russell Wilson is 8-4 in the postseason. That's pretty good. That's like Shannon Sharp kind of numbers, right?
Yeah.
And he did win a Super Bowl, and Matt Ryan crumbled in a Super Bowl, and Matt Ryan is now 3-5 in the postseason, including 2 of those wins to get to last year's Super Bowl.
Correct.
So I'm talking about backbone, spine, whatever that thing is, that football toughness. I like this locker room over this locker room. Mm-hmm. And I get what you're saying. These 2 running backs and Julio, they have dynamic playmakers.
Mohamed Sanu.
And Sanu, oof. And Deion Jones he's had his coming out party in his second year on that defense, and he leads that defense. But in the end, if you made me, I don't even know if Seattle's going to get in, but if they do sneak in.
If Atlanta loses, if they win, they're in.
And it's going to kill me because that could have been Dallas sneaking in. But if Seattle does slip through that back door and I have to play Seattle, I'm going to dread it because there's something in that locker room. They have a core of pride. You saw the pride because Eric rubbed it the wrong way. But I think Atlanta hopes to win, and I think these guys think they can beat anybody. They just do. That like there's just something going on in that locker room, even without Richard and without Cam, that they think they can go beat somebody. And they just might. Yeah. I would be afraid of them coming to my house.
But here's the thing. Atlanta could possibly be, the 6th seed, and that means they would have to play the 3 seed. They're going to probably have to go to New Orleans or St. Louis.
All right.
I mean St. Louis, LA, the Rams.
Okay.
They're going to have to come to the Coliseum. They're going to have to go down to New Orleans.
Okay, so as it sits right now, Seattle might get to go back to where we're right here now, Los Angeles.
Yes.
Well, guess what happened when Seattle came to Los Angeles during the regular season? They won. I know it went to a last throw that was not caught by the rookie receiver.
But they had Cam and they had a lot of other pieces then.
I got it. But still, I think they would believe they could come and figure out how to win that game. Atlanta's going to be one and done. If they sort of back in.
There ain't going to be no backing in because they got to beat Carolina to get it. That won't be backing.
Okay. But again, they know Carolina, and I won't be surprised. I think Atlanta will win that game. That's what I think will happen. But if they don't, this would be the scarier team to have to deal with.
You think Atlanta going to be the Rob Parker Super Bowl pick?
Yeah, I do. I do. And you do too.
I do.
But I think you're a little more sold on Atlanta because for a long time you lived in Atlanta and you have a piece of it in your soul, right?
No, Skip. It's not like that. I mean,
it is like that.
Well, look, I mean, both of them beat the brakes off you.
They did.
You know what Atlanta did.
No Tyron Smith, no Sean Lee, no Ezekiel Elliott.
They had Sean Lee last week. They had Ezekiel Elliott last week.
Do you realize we went this whole discussion about the Atlanta Falcons and we did not bring up Adrian Claiborne?
Yeah.
Because nobody's brought him up since the Dallas game, right?
Yeah,
when he had 6 sacks.
He's in what you call him? He's in Chaz Green, a Raptor.
Yeah, what did he make that game?
Did he?
500 grand?
Yeah, 750,000.
Wow. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And where is he now? Where is he now? Is he still on the roster? I don't even know.
Yeah, he's on the roster.
Is he? Okay.
So no 93 Bills run for the Falcons?
No.
No mercy. The Panthers still have a shot to win the NFC South on Sunday when they visit Atlanta. In their first meeting, Cam Newton tied a season-low 137 passing yards, but Carolina got the win. Yesterday, Cam said, quote, "It's put up or shut up time come Sunday." We're joined by Rob Parker. Welcome, Rob.
What's happening?
Morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Rob, how far can Carolina go in the playoffs?
You ready for this? All the way to the Super Bowl. I'm riding Cam. I'm riding the Panthers. Look at what they've done of late.
There is a bug going around. A crazy bug, because this man lost his mind.
Are you delirious?
No, I'm not delirious. I'm okay. I'm feeling good.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. They've won 7 of 8. They're 5-1 in their last 6. Cam has 13 touchdowns, 2 picks, 11 passing, 2 rushing. And you're right. The numbers, he's not piling up the numbers. The numbers are not great. I'll give you that. But it's fine. It's about winning. It's not about just stacking up stats.
Even for former MVP?
Yeah, even for a former MVP. You know what I love about this team right here?
What do you love about it?
There's a couple things. Against teams over 500, Skip, they're 5-3, so they beat good teams.
Correct.
They're not one of those teams that just piles up beating the also-rans. They're not a Detroit Lions kind of team.
Did they beat a team that has an MVP candidate on it?
But wait a minute. No, they didn't beat them, but
Yeah,
that's okay.
Tom Brady, they beat
They beat Tom Brady. You're right about that.
He was trying to set you up, and you didn't.
And no, because I was thinking about, you were talking about the candidate of when they lost to the Eagles. That's what I thought you were talking about, Carson Wentz. All right, they're also 8-1 in one-score games. So they win the close games,
Correct.
which is another good sign. And here's the best thing of all. When you talk about Carolina and Cam Newton, is that they've made that run before, and this time, nobody's in their way. And what I mean by that, there's no Aaron Rodgers. There's no Eli Manning. there are none of the usual suspects who are normally in the way.
There's
so
one
now,
usual suspect down in New Orleans, but go ahead.
okay, but I'm talking about when you look at the other guys who are out there, Nick Foles, Case Keenum, Jared Goff. No disrespect to them, but they haven't been there and they haven't done that yet. So when I look at that, I like what Carolina has done, and they run the ball. 4th in the NFL rushing. Cam's a big part of that. So they can control the clock if you can run the ball, get first downs, all that, limit the other team's possessions. So I love what they're doing. I think that this is going to be an under the radar. That 15 in 1 year, they got in the Super Bowl, got embarrassed, I get it. And I think Matt Ryan's the only quarterback in the NFC who's been to the Super Bowl who's in their way. I'm not that big on the Falcons. They're choke artists. So I'm not big on them.
Are you big on the Saints?
Not big on the Saints either. There's something different about them. It's not the Drew Brees that we normally know. They run the football with the two-headed monster. I don't know how that works in the postseason if you stop it. No,
it worked really good.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
But I like the Panthers. I like where they are. I'm picking the Carolina Panthers to make it to the Super Bowl. You hear me, Skip Bayless? You hear me, Shannon Sharp?
Yeah,
you hear me, Joy Taylor?
I'm taking I'm going to Vegas. I'm putting all my money on the team against his.
The Bengals heard you last year. Go ahead.
You had to bring that up.
You're gonna have
when you going to forget about that Bengals pick?
It's okay.
People listen to Rob Parker, he going to have you in bankruptcy court. You betting on the Carolina Panthers. I don't see them reaching the NFC Championship game for this reason. Cam's been too inconsistent. And when you get to the playoffs, your quarterback cannot be inconsistent. Skip, they won a game. They beat Minnesota. Cam threw for 137 yards.
Yep.
He also threw for 137 yards against Atlanta. 154 against Tampa.
He just managed the game. You don't have to put up gaudy numbers to win. I keep telling you, Shannon Sharp.
But here's the thing, though. The guys that are in their way, the Philadelphians, they play outstanding defense.
They don't have the wins in a lifetime. So I'm not so sure that automatically that they're going to get there.
What about the Rams?
What about the Rams?
They still got old Todd Gurley.
They haven't played in the playoffs since Moby Dick was a guppy. I ain't buying it.
Well, you make it say, whoa, Rob, why you so bent up on my teams? I don't know. He Cam Newton. Now he all Cam Newton now. You know
The Rams are your team now?
No.
Yes, he just said it.
Yeah, I like the Rams. They got an MVP candidate. Here's the thing. I just think the thing is, with Cam being so inconsistent, Skip, I didn't know this until, me and my researcher, we study all night, all those no-dos.
You mean Steve?
Cam Newton, in 8 of the 15 games, has thrown for less than 200 yards. That's Prescottian. Dak Prescott.
Oh.
Prescott, Prescottian, that's a new word.
That's nice.
That's a new word.
I like that.
Oh, so you know what it is, Skip? Throw for less than 200. Prescottian.
Wait, you mean Dak Prescott, who has the 4th best QBR in all of football?
Is it about wins or QBR?
It's about QBR at this position. We're about to discuss QBR.
No. It's always about dubs at this position, Skip. I'm not going to let you change the narrative, Skip Bayless.
I'm
Stop
about
it.
to.
No.
Is it my turn
Yeah,
now?
your turn.
Always
Seriously?
your turn.
Yes,
you can
but
go.
before I don't have Carolina reaching the NFC Championship game. There are a lot of things that can happen where they could possibly get the 2 seed and have a couple of home games, but I don't see that, Skip.
Nor do I. So the team you kept sweeping under your carpet, the New Orleans Saints, went to Carolina and won 34-13. And then at New Orleans, it's a hard place to play, but Cam lost 31-20.
Hard to beat a team 3 times in the season.
Not when
It's
you
very
better.
hard.
Who knows what they're going to play? But the point is, I would right now slightly favor New Orleans. But to your point, I have never seen the NFC more wide open than it is right now because those top 2 seeds have backup quarterbacks.
Right.
So I give you that. And yet, you just heaped even more pressure on your man Cam Newton. And I hope he can bear up under it because he had one breakthrough season, the MVP season, and he's never been a big QBR quarterback because he's not a big performer. He'll make small plays, but not the huge plays, and he won't throw for big numbers. So in that 1 year that he won the MVP, and he definitely deserved the MVP, his QBR was 67, which on a scale of 0 to 100 for all those 16 games, it's not great. I got to tell you, that's probably, I haven't looked it up, but it's as low a QBR as any MVP will ever have. If you take his other 6 seasons, including this one, and average his QBRs, 56. It's barely above average because, to your point, he's wildly inconsistent with his numbers. His performance, he rushes the ball. He's their leading rusher. He's Carolina's lead rusher. He obviously leads all quarterbacks in rush yards. So I'm going to give you a chance there. But the team that got to the Super Bowl was carried in part by that defense, right? This year, that defense is not really carrying this team.
Yeah, but they're 7th in the NFL in defense, which is good enough, and there's only 2 teams in the playoffs who are ahead of them.
Points allowed, they're 11th. So it's not a dominating defense. Their turnover ratio, they're not forcing turnovers. They're tied for 15th in turnovers forced. And in ratio, they're 14th. So they're not, that team going back, what was
2015.
it? 2015, they were terrorists. They went into Dallas on Thanksgiving and just terrorized. Romo threw 3 picks, and they pick-sixed all year long. The defense carried, not that Cam didn't have a great year, but the defense had an
Cam had a great year that year, and this is the other part,
35
too.
and 10.
Right. But the other part, too, is, again, they've excelled against good teams, which I like. When you go into playoffs, everybody's a good team. And number 2, they have a signature win in Foxborough against Tom Brady and the Patriots. So they were able to go and win a big game on the road, and that's what you need. You need to have that kind of confidence and that kind of ability to win a big game. That's why I like the way it sets up for them.
Who was the first person to say that, Skip? It's hard to beat a team or a person 3 times. Because my brother beat me up 300 times. Because he was bigger and better than I was. That's how it
But
works.
I'm talking about in a football game. I'm still hurting over the Jets and the Dolphins in 1982. The Jets beat them twice during the regular season, and then they get into the AFC, was that 83? AFC Championship game, right?
Against the Killer Bees.
Against the Killer Bees. And Richard Todd throws a pick to A.J. Dewey. They lose 14-0. I've never gotten over that game. Here's the one time I was a fan back then. I was in college. And that game sticks with me because the Jets had to beat the Dolphins 3 times.
You were in college in the 80s?
Yeah, I was in college in the 80s.
He was in it for a long time.
Yeah, he must have been.
I graduated in 1986. I was in college 82 to 86.
I don't know, Rob.
What? Do the math.
I'm see. Hold on, let me see. Hold on, Skip. Let me do something quick. 1960.
1964. What are you talking about, 1960?
You the age of my sister. And she graduated high school in 78.
Is she
so
single?
82. No!
So, Rob, you have heaped pressure on Cam Newton because this offense to me is mostly Cam or bust.
Correct.
I just don't, like, you love Christian McCaffrey in part because you play with his father. I didn't love him coming out, and I think they thought he was going to change life in Carolina. He has not changed life. And by the way, last night I was watching the guy who's still there, Bryce Love. He's going to be better than Christian McCaffrey, especially as a running back.
But Skip, he gets injured too much. He's smaller than Christian.
But he can tear it up.
Yeah, but he's not, I mean.
Well, he got his hand cut open last night. I don't know. That was freaky.
Remember, he's dealing with ankle problems.
He
had
does.
lower leg problems.
Okay.
He's a sprinter. So he's thinly built. But Skip, I agree with Skip. I just don't think Cam with the consistency. And when you get to the playoffs, your quarterback has to be consistent. And Cam has been, I mean, when he's good, look at his numbers when he went to Detroit. Look at what he did when he went to New England. You look at those games, you're like, wow. And then you look last week against Tampa, 160 yards. And he had that big run, but, you know, he can.
He almost fumbled the game away, but then he scooped it back up and scored.
Minnesota, Skip, the game's on the line. They run a play, and then Cam goes 70 yards and sets them up and puts ice the game.
Rob, if you're right, he's going to have to play really big.
I'm just looking at, but they've been playing better. They've been winning of late. That's what I like about them, is that the way that they're closing out. 5-1 in their last 6 games. They've won 7 of 8. I like a team that's hot, and I get it. The numbers aren't spectacular, but it's about winning. I always tell you, Skip, sports has a short menu. Wins, losses. That's all that matters. Nothing else matters.
You gonna go eat at Rob's restaurant?
I got.
Yeah, he better come eat there.
I serve wine.
Is that right?
I serve wine because Joy like wine.
What's the rating outside of Rob's restaurant?
You get, boy,
got an A?
you ain't got no A in your window.
I got an A
no,
in my
you don't.
window.
You got an F.
You know, at my,
Health inspection gonna close you
Dallas
down.
Cowboy restaurant, we serve legitimate excuses.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the special there, right?
Yeah.
That's the special. Yeah.
All you can eat for free.
No mercy.
Thanks for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. Keep an eye out for a weekend edition of the podcast tomorrow morning, featuring this week's best NFL segments. Have a safe and happy New Year, everybody.
Fox Sports 1 of 1.